This is Amy Chan from CakeDecoratingSchool.com, and if you like cake decorating, you're in the right place. Welcome to our flower series. In this video, we're going to be piping open peonies. The video is broken down into steps so you can skip ahead, rewind, and rewatch as desired. We're going to make the colors for our peony now, and we're going to make 3 since we're doing an open peony. We're going to do some green, yellow, and a nice burgundy color. I'm going to use the following liquid gel colors: red, there we go, violet, and neon bright pink. Then we're going to use some buckeye brown, oh, there it is, lemon yellow, and finally some royal blue. I'm going to start with my yellow, and I want to make kind of a golden mustardy tone of yellow. So I've got some of my lemon and some of my brown out here to get started. And we're using American style buttercream for all these colors. I don't need very much of the yellow or the green because it's just going to be the inside, and we're going to be mostly petals. So I'm just going to start with a few specks of that lemon yellow and just a little bit of that brown. So think nice kind of harvest gold color. Just want something that's going to read well against our burgundy and the green and really help the centers and some of those details pop out. And I like where this is going. I'm just going to make it a touch darker and just repeat that. Little yellow, little brown, less brown than yellow. And that should give you a nice kind of harvest gold color. If you put in too much brown, it becomes more of a tan. There we go. That's beautiful. Next, let's make our green. And you can see we don't need very much green either. So just a little bit there. And I'm going to start with some blue. And then some yellow. We want a nice shade of green, but we don't want it to be too bright or vivid. So I'm going to add just a little bit of brown. So it kind of mimics the shade of yellow that we created before. So I just want something that's a little deeper in value, but has a little bit of that dusty vibe to it as well. That's coming along nicely. And see how those colors are blending. Let's just go a little darker. Some more yellow. Finally, just a little bit of that brown. Get that in there. This should be good. We want kind of a deep color. It's going to be the little centers, and it's going to be surrounded by the yellow. It's a nice shade. It's a nice kind of dark moss green. And finally, we're going to make our red, and we're going for kind of a burgundy shade. We're going mostly red. Let's see if it'll come out for me. Our nice red. A little bit of purple, so just 1 drop on my purple. If it'll behave. And I don't want it to be too dark. Sometimes just adding a little bright pink can add a little vibrance. And then I'm just going to do just a tiny little touch of that brown. We'll see what we get. I'm looking for something that's kind of a nice wine shade. If that was too much purple, then I'll probably go back and add a little more red and maybe some more pink. But I don't want to go too much on that purple to begin with. And I don't want to add too much color to begin with because I want to make sure I have room to adjust and get a nice balance. So I like where this is going. It's kind of like a deep mauve right now, so that means we're on a good track towards being burgundy. I think I'm just gonna add a touch more red. Just to kind of balance it out, because it's a little too heavy on the purple. And then once this darkens, it should be a nice deep burgundy color. So it'll get a little darker as it sits for a little bit and those colors develop. So I think that's going to be a really beautiful shade for us. For this flower, we're going to use 3 12-inch disposable pastry bags. We have them fitted directly with the tips, so one for each color. For our burgundy, we're using a number 122. It's a large curved petal tip. If you don't have this one and you have a 123, you can use that one instead. Your flowers will be just a little bit larger. For our gold color, we're using a number 2 round tip. So just a nice small round tip will do the job. And finally, for our green, we're using a number 4 tip. So a large round tip for a green. Let's review the techniques we're going to use to create this open peony. We're going to make petals with our 122 tips, so I've got my bag with that out, ready to go. And I'm going to do what I call some ruffled teardrop petals and some regular teardrop petals. And this one is a curved petal tip, so we're going to make contact with the fat end, and that curved portion is going to rock up just a little bit for us. And we want to do just a nice ruffle and back. So when you think about it, we're going to do one little bump, pull out, do a second one. That's when we're kind of rotating just a little bit, either your flower nail or the back of the bag, come down and do another bump and meet up. And you can see that gives us that nice little ruffled shape on the end. And then for these, we just want to do a regular teardrops. So just out, spin, and back. And if you've watched more of our videos, you probably practiced these, but it's just very, very simple, nice, easy petals. And because of the shape of the tip, you can see they all come up off the surface and have that nice curled look to them. And that's going to give us a great little edge for our peony flowers. All the petals are going to have that little bit of curl, a little bit of cupped surface on the outside edge, which is going to look gorgeous. For our centers, we're just going to use spikes. These are the same spikes we've done a lot, where we are up off the surface, squeeze to build up a dot, and then continue squeezing as you pull away. And we're going to use both green and yellow for this. The green, we're going to kind of pull towards the central point, and the yellow, we're going to pull straight up. So we're going to use the 4 for the green and the 2 for the yellow, and that's going to give us a nice varied look to our centers. Let's go over how we put together the techniques we just reviewed to create a big, beautiful open peony blossom. We're going to start out by piping 6 approximately equal spaced petals. They're going to be those ruffled teardrops that we just practiced, and they're going to be on the outside edge of our nail. And we're going to be using a large 3-inch flower nail, so we want to go right on the outside edge, pipe them. I like to go across, so I start one, go across, divide it in half, and then it's easy to do approximately equal spaced petals in between so that you have 6 of those on there. Then we're going to take our tip, same orientation, and we're going to pipe 2 more petals directly on top of each of those ones that we just did. And we're going to offset them a little bit. So one might be a little to the right, one might be a little to the left, and it's going to start to build up these groupings or clumps of petals that look like a big open peony. So for that first round, kind of sets of 3, we're doing those outer petals with the tip, just like we talked about when we practiced, where the fat end is making contact with the surface and the skinny end is the only thing that's really up off the surface and is giving us that nice little cupped ridge. When we go to do the next set, so basically we're just going to repeat the same process, we're going to just rock the outside edge a little bit and kind of slide on an upward diagonal. And since we've built up these little kind of outer clumps of petals, it's going to be really easy to do that. So we'll repeat the process. do a nice ruffled petal, do 2 on top, kind of one a little to the left, one a little to the right. You'll notice that we might start kind of merging the groups together a little bit here because we're going to be working towards the center, so the area we're working on will get smaller as we go in, and things will start to kind of naturally join together. And then finally, we'll repeat it again for the inner petals, and it'll be just the very tip that's kind of making contact, and we'll slide almost directly up when we're making our petals, and that'll make the ones that are kind of curving or cupping in. Once we've done our inner petals, there's a chance we might use a few of those just straight teardrops and just go in between some, just if there's any gaps in the section, kind of as you go. It's a little bit of a natural process and will mean that every flower is just a little bit different. And then finally, we'll go ahead and pipe our centers. We'll start with the number 4. I'm going to do 1 spike in the middle, and I'm just going to go all the way around it and pull directly towards that middle spike. That's going to give it a nice kind of closed, tapered look. And then I'll go around that with the number 2 with that gold color and just pull straight up. And this is basically just going to be to fill in any remaining area, join any remaining petals together, and give us a nice fluffy look there in the center with a little pop of color. We'll have that dark green and that kind of nice golden yellow, and it's going to look like a big, beautiful open peony. So even though this flower looks huge and a little complex, it's really just some pretty simple techniques that are going to give it to you. And it's just about how you kind of organize them, how you lay them out, and how you orient that tip as we work our way towards the center. Now that we've talked about it, let's pull out our flower nail and give it a practice. Let's start piping. I've got my bag with my 122 tip, my burgundy frosting. I'm on my 3-inch flower nail, and I've got it covered up with paper. And I'm just starting, you can see that's the outside edge of my nail right here. So just a little bit back from that outside edge. I'm going to squeeze and do a nice ruffled teardrop petal. And you can see it's fine if it goes a little past that outside edge. Now, to get equal spacing, I just want to turn it around and do one directly opposite of this. So, right there. Beautiful. Now it's going to be easy to put 2 more in between those on each side. And you want to have a gap between. It doesn't have to be perfectly equal spaced. You just want to make sure that there's a little bit of a gap between them. Doesn't have to be huge. There we go. And we'll get our last one in there. So now we have our first round of petals down. We're going to go ahead and do some petals right on top of them. If you need to, go ahead and adjust your bag and push your frosting down. We've got our first round of petals down. We've got those 6 on there, and we're going to do 2 on top of each of these. So I just want to kind of build up a little bit and also out a little bit. That's what I meant by offset when we were going over how to do these. So we're going to start really right here at the base. We don't want to pull in too much. We're going to do that with our next round. These are the ones that are kind of flat. And we're just going to go almost directly on top. So you can see almost the same. And that's going to build up some layers there and some body. And you can see it's starting to take up that area in the gap just by doing one of them. So then we're going to go ahead and do the others. So just go over them. And it's fine if some of those petals are bigger and some of them are smaller. We just want to kind of layer them on top and take up that area. There we go. Now that we've got that first set of petals done, We did those nice little groupings of 6 where we did 3 on each, and we're gonna go ahead and do some more. This time though, instead of keeping that tip almost flat, we're gonna rock it up a little bit. And we're just gonna go right on top. So you can see curls up even more because it's got something to stand on top. And then I can go and put on some smaller ones. So this is giving us a big, beautiful look of a nice opening peony. And sometimes when I start doing the second and third ones where we're starting to angle this tip up, I might end up only doing 2. It kind of ends up being whatever you have room for, and how big you did your first round of petals will affect that a little bit, and also how much those first round curve up. So just kind of keep that in mind. It's okay to vary and not have everything be exactly the same. But if you're piping almost directly on top of them, you can see you get these big, beautiful kind of almost little like clumping groups. And that's really what we want for these beautiful peonies. And I'm doing a great job of filling up this space this time. But every once in a while when I'm doing these, I need to add in one of those teardrops. Typically, it's when I start to get a gap and I'm not just naturally filling it in. If you get a gap, you can do a nice teardrop in the gap to kind of help join it together. It gives you a petal that's going a different direction, adds a little interest in detail, and also a little support. That's when we're using those. So you can see it just kind of helps fill in that little bit of spacing. Now for our final kind of set of 3s, we're going to take that tip and just the fat end now is touching, and you can see we've built this kind of hole up in the middle, so it's going to work out pretty beautifully. And we just want to kind of go straight up the side, and if you're running short on room, just do those regular teardrops instead of the ruffled ones. And you can see I probably won't even need as many. So depending on how much space you gave yourself, how big you started, how fat your petals are, and how you built them up, you might have more room down in the center there, or you might have less. Either way, totally fine. You can even make them open and more flat if you want. But now that we've got some nice upright petals there, kind of enclosing everything, it's time to switch to our green and do our centers. I've got my green with my number 4. I'm just going to go right down in the middle and pull a spike up in the center, and then I'm going to go all the way around it, rotate as you go, pull towards the center, and just enclose it. There we go. And you can see that gives us a nice pop of green right down there in the middle. To finish things off, we're going to use our yellow and our number 2, and just nice, beautiful, long, frilly spikes go right down where those petals join up to that green, and just go all the way around. And put as much yellow as you need to in there. Make them nice and long, let them flop over your petals a little bit, flop over the center. And let them be just a little bit wild. And you can see that gives you a gorgeous open peony. That's all for this lesson on open peonies. If you enjoyed this one, try our original peony video, which will show you how to do a nice closed peony for an easy lesson on these, especially if this one was just a little bit challenging. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like more about the cake decorating materials and equipment we use, or just some inspirational videos about cake decorating itself, you can follow us on Insta or YouTube at Cake Decorating School. If you'd like to know more about yearly membership and what it entails, you can go to www.cakedecorating.school.com for more information. And if you're interested in these products, you can check the links in the description.